Okay, so this is another review for tomorrow's test. This is a little more comprehensive than that first one. So find the perimeter and the area of each figure below. So perimeter, remember, we need to be able to add up all the sides. So if we look at this thing, we've got to deal with the outside being straightaway, straightaway, straightaway. And this is also still straightaway and straightaway. The problem here is we don't have everything that we need. So we know that this bottom part here in yellow happens to be 24. What we don't know is this piece over here. But understand that you happen to have a right triangle. And so this triangle right here, you can find that missing side x using the Pythagorean theorem, assuming you understand that because this guy is 16, then this guy is 16. So in order to find the missing side, we need to use Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equal to c squared. Our legs are 12 squared, 16 squared, x squared. 144 plus 256 is x squared. 400 is x squared. Well, how do I get the length of the side all alone? I square root both sides, and again, you're going to be using your calculator. So x happens to be 20. So now I know that this is 20. So if I want to find the perimeter, I'm just going to add up all the straightaways, but I'm not going through my figure, right? I'm not going through it. So I'm going to add 16 plus 24 plus 12 plus 20 plus 24. The perimeter, once you have your calculator, comes out to be 96 units. For the area, you need to be able to find the area of the rectangle and the area of the triangle and add them together. Well, the area of the rectangle is base times height. So the area here is base times height, 16 times 24. The area inside this particular rectangle ends up being 384. The area of a triangle, so the area, I'm going to put this up here, the area of the triangle is base times height divided by 2. Well, remember, this side was 16. Your base and your height are 16 and 12. 16 times 12 divided by 2. What comes out for this is you're going to end up with 96. So the triangle area is 96. You'll have a lot more room on your paper tomorrow. So the area of this irregular shape is the rectangle plus the triangle. The area equals 384 plus 96. The area of the figure ends up being 480 units squared. Okay? Next shape. Area and perimeter. We're going to round this thing to the nearest hundredth. So if we deal with the perimeter, we know that we're dealing with straightaway, 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 and then we're dealing with the curved portion of half of a circle. So in order to find my perimeter, notice that these are all marked, so everything is 16, as is your diameter. So I'm going to add 3 16s together because those are my yellows. Now my circle is pi times d, but it's cut in half, right? The circumference of a circle is pi times d, but don't forget you're dividing it by 2 because it's a half circle. So this becomes 16 pi cut in half. It wants it rounded to the nearest hundredth. So when I add everything up, 16 plus 16 plus 16 plus 16 pi divided by 2, I end up getting 48 plus 8 pi, which is going to be equal to 73.13 inches. That's my perimeter. When I find my area, I want to get the area of the square, which is base times height, 16 times 16, which is 256. I need the area of a half of a circle, which is pi r squared divided by 2. Well, 16 is the diameter, so the radius is 8. So then I do pi 8 squared cut in half, which ends up being doing with 32 pi because 64 pi. So then my area is 256 plus 34 pi, and the area comes out to the nearest hundredth, 356.53 inches squared. The next one, find the area of the shaded region. Well, hopefully you realize that the shaded region is going to be formed finding the area of the square minus the area of two half circles, which is just the area of a full circle. So the area of your square is base times height, 11 by 11, 121. The area of a circle is pi r squared. So diameter happens to be 11. So your radius then is going to happen to be 5.5. So it's pi 5.5 squared. This comes out to be 30.25 pi. It's asking you for the nearest, well, it's not asking, but let's run it to the nearest hundredth. So what you're going to do is you're going to say the area is 121 minus 30.25 pi, which comes out to be 25.97. Its area, its square inches. So I'm not really showing stuff on the calculator. You should be able to do that on your own. Number 4. Find the, use a cylinder for 4 and 5. So Sam wants to fill the cylinder. If you're filling anything, it's volume. This formula happens to be given to you on the Regents. You'll get it tomorrow on the test. It's pi r squared h, which means it's going to be pi radius squared times height. It's asking you to round this thing out. So this really ends up being, I like to go to pi first. It's 192 pi, but when multiplied through, it becomes 603.19, and it's centimeters cubed. Now she's going to paint the cylinder. How much area will she need to paint? So she's painting it. She's painting the whole thing, top, bottom, and around the like the label area. So this formula is given to you also, surface area, and the formula here is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. I gotta bring this up a little bit. Hold on, get rid of that. Bring this up, come on. Okay, so I can't see my picture anymore, but I know what the things are. So the radius happens to be 4, and the height happens to be 12. So surface area, 2 pi 4 squared plus 2 pi 4 12. When we do the math here, this becomes 32 pi. When we do the math here, this becomes 96 pi. So our surface area, I'm just going to come over here. The surface area happens to be a whole bunch of pi, 128 pi to be exact, multiplied out, 402.12 centimeters squared. That's a squared. Okay, so anything that's going to be in area is going to be squared. Anything that's in volume is cube. Alrighty, next. Find the surface area and the volume of the rectangular prism. The volume is the formula that they do not give you. You need to know it by yourself. Length, width, and height. Doesn't really matter what you call length or width and height, but the volume is multiplying everything together. 4 times 3.5 times 2. On the calculator, the volume becomes 28, and it's feet cubed. Surface area, they do give you the formula. Surface area is 2LW plus 2LH plus 2WH, which means 2, 4 times 3.5, and then it's going to be, this one ends up being 28. I'm just going to do this separately. And then we need to get 2 times L and H, which is 4 times 2, which is 8 times 2. That comes out to be 16. And then you get 2 W and H, which is 3.5 times 2, which this thing comes out to be 14. When I add up all of these guys together, The surface area comes out to a grand total of 58. It's still area, feet squared. Okay. Next one. Didn't do this unit, but it's something that you should be able to figure out. It's just conversions. If 1 meter is 3.25 feet, then how many feet in 7.2 meters? It's just a proportion. If I deal with meters is to feet, well, 1 meter is to 3.25 feet as x meters is to 7.2 feet. Cross multiply and solve. So you get 3.25x equals 7.2, right? We just cross multiplied. Divide both sides by 3 1/4. And x comes out to be 23.4. And this is just feet. That's what we were trying to find. Oh, no, meters, not feet. I'm sorry. So how many feet? Oh, wait a second. Hold on. I did this completely wrong. Hold on. Hold on. Sorry, I screwed this up. Let's try this again. Okay. It's how many feet would be in 7.2 meters. So it's same idea, but I just put the wrong proportion. So 1 meter equals 3.25 feet. So then it says how many feet would be in 7.2 meters. So that means 7.2 over x. I'm trying to find the feet. You're still cross multiplying, just makes it a little bit easier. So now when you cross multiply, x is just going to be 3.25 times 7.2. It's 23.4 feet. Sorry about that. Okay, here's the next one. An ounce is about 28.4 grams. There are 16 ounces in a pound. How many grams does an 8-ounce steak weigh? Well, we're looking for how many grams. I know ounces is to grams. 1 ounce is to 28.4 grams, as 8 ounces is to x grams. Cross multiply. X ends up being 227.2 grams. The average weight of an NFL player is currently 248 pounds. Represent that in grams. Well, we need to be able to get from ounces to pounds, from pounds to ounces, sorry, and then from ounces to grams. So once again, we know that if we're dealing with pounds first, we know that ounces to pounds is this. 16 ounces is to 1 pound. So how many ounces is to this football player who weighs 248 pounds? When you cross multiply, you're going to get that the football player weighs 3,968 ounces. Now we're going to take the ounces to grams configuration. So ounces to grams says there for every 1 ounce, there's 24.8 grams. So in 3,968 ounces, how many grams do we have? Cross multiply. This football player, I don't have any room down here, so I'm going to kind of move it. Oh, yes, I guess I can. So the football player weighs 112,691.2 grams. It's just doing proportions. That's all you're doing. Okay, we've got this next one, which is talking about you measure the square to have 14 inches on a side. The actual side of the square is 17 inches. What's the relative error? Round it to the thousandth and calculating the area. So remember, relative error is going to be big area minus small area over actual area. So we've got the measured, which is the area that's going to be 14 by 14, and that comes out to be 196. We've got the actual area of the square to be 17 by 17, which comes out to be 289. When I start dealing with big minus small, I'm going to say relative error is going to be big 289 minus small, but this is the actual. I'm going to divide it by 289. This, if you want to kind of do it in the next step, is 93 over 289, which this ends up being 0.322. It wants to the nearest thousandth. That's 3 places. 3 more to go. Which of the following figures has the largest area? This actually has a typo in it. This really should say a circle with a radius that measures 6. So this might mess you up a little bit. But if the radius is 6, you get pi r squared, which means you've got 36 pi. If it's a square that measures 6 on a side, you get base times height, which is 6 times 6, or 36. If you get a parallelogram whose base and height are 36, you get parallelogram, so that's going to be base times height, which is 6 times 6, which is 36 again. And if you get a triangle whose base and height measure 6, you get 6 times 6 divided by 2, and in this case you get 18. Well, the one that's going to have the biggest answer is going to have to be A. 36 times a little bit more than 3 is going to be the biggest one that you get. What's the volume of the solid? Volume is length times width times height. So A times A times A is A to the third power. Choice 1. Last but not least, which expression represents the area of a rectangle whose length is 2x minus 1 and whose width is x plus 3? Well, again, it's length times width, so you just have to multiply 2x minus 1 times x plus 3, which would be 2x squared plus 6x minus 1x minus 3. And when you combine like terms, 2x squared plus 5x minus 3, choice 4. All right, so that's it. You should be good for the test tomorrow.